Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing a really in-depth video on the different kinds of knots, bracelet mechanics, and then how to start and end all your bracelets. Okay, so I'm going to start with the different kinds of knots and like bracelet mechanics. So if you want to know how to start and end bracelets, you can go to this time right here if you want to skip this. So I'm just going to start with the different kinds of knots, and this is just for a tutorial purpose, so I just tie two strings together and then just tape them down. You won't have a bracelet with two strings, but this is just from the video. For our first knot, I will show you how to do a forward knot. These knots are very common. So to start with the forward knot, you're going to take your left string, cross it over top of the right string, making a 4 shape. Taking the tail, you're going to wrap it underneath, and you're going to pull it up tight. And you're going to do it again, making a 4 shape over top of the right string, wrapping it underneath, and then pulling it up. That's a forward knot. A backward knot, you're going to start with your right string. You're going to cross it over top of the left string, make a 4 shape, take the tail, wrap it underneath, and pull it up, and do it again. 4 shape over top of the right string, wrap it underneath, and then pull it up. That's a backward knot. Now I'm going to show you how to do a forward backward knot. So forward backward knots, we're going to start with a forward knot, starting with our left string. I'm going to cross it over top of the right string, wrap it underneath, pull it up, and then I'm going to do a backward knot. So I'm going to then take the same string and do a backwards 4 over top of the other string, pull the tail up, and you have a forward backward. Now for our backward forward, we're going to start with the right string, make a 4 shape, crossing it over top of the left string, taking the tail, wrapping it underneath, and then pulling it up. And then I'm going to do a forward knot, so making a normal 4 over top of the same string, wrapping it underneath, and pulling it up. And that's a backward forward knot. So if you couldn't tell, every full knot consists of 2 knots. So you did the forward knot twice to make one whole forward knot. And I've been getting a lot of questions about, does it matter what kind of knot you do? Like, how do you know which one to do? And it does matter what kind of knot you do. That's why there's 4 different kinds of knots. It matters. Every knot you do changes the place of your string. So I'm going to do a forward knot with my strings right now, and you will see that the strings will change place. So right now, I have a pink string on the left side and a blue string on the right side. And if I do a forward knot, now the blue's on the left and the pink's on the right, but if I were to do a forward backward, the pink would stay in the same place. So now if I wanted to keep the blue in the same place, I'm going to do a forward backward, and now the blue stayed in the same place, but I still did my knot. So it does matter what knot you do. And yeah, that's all for the different kinds of knots and bracelet mechanics. Now we're going to move on to how to start and end bracelets. So one way to start bracelets, this is a very generic way. I recommend doing this if you are starting out, so you're not wasting time and thread doing the other way. So you have your strings cut ready for your bracelet. Pretend these are longer, and you're going to fold all your strings in half, and you have a little loop at the top here, and you're just going to tie a knot. And you're going to kind of leave some space with the loop at the beginning so that when you're done with your bracelet, you have some room and some extra string to tie it around your wrist. So that is one way to start bracelets. The second way to start one is to make this little loop in the beginning. So it is different than this loop. This loop, you have all your strings kind of just hanging out, whatever. But this one is a nice braided, secure, sturdy loop. It's very easy to make, so I will show you how to do that. Once you have your strings folded in half like you normally will when you start your bracelet, you're going to kind of mark out how big you want your loop to be. I'm going to do about this big, which is a pretty generic size. And you're going to have one string cut longer than the rest because you're going to be doing knots. You need it to be longer than the rest of your string so you can have enough string to do your bracelet but then also do the loop. And now that this is in half, my longer string is on this side. So I'm going to go over to the other side and tape it down on that side, if that made sense, so that my longer string is now more exposed. So then just to do the loop, you're just going to take the rest of your strings from your bracelet that you're making, group them together, and then take your other string that's cut longer than the rest, And you're going to start by just doing a forward knot over top of all your strings, and then doing a backward knot over top all of your strings, and then a forward knot again, and then a backward knot, and you're just going to keep repeating that and doing forward knots and then backward knots over and over again until you get to your desired length. And the knots are going to start forming, and it will give it length, and then you can have your little loop. I'm running out of thread now, but you can see I just made quite a bit of knots, and when you kind of got to a decent length, you can just take it out and just fold it in half again, and you will see a little loop forming. This is obviously way too small, but you have a little loop now, and you can just tape this down, and you can just start your bracelet from there. And then when you're done, you will have a nice loop at the beginning of your bracelet. Now to end your bracelet, so I didn't finish this one yet, but we'll pretend that I did finish it. So I do have a knot and a loop at the beginning of my bracelet. So if you did this in the beginning, to just finish it off, you can just cut this loop so the strings are all straight and just leave it at that, but I like to untie this knot. So now it looks like that, and you have all this room, and then I'm gonna just take my strings and just cut them so that they're all straight. And yeah. And then at the bottom of your bracelet, you're just gonna stop doing all the knots and the pattern once you get your bracelet to your desired length. And it pretty much just like ties itself off like that. The knots will not come undone, I promise. And I just leave like 3, 4, 5, whatever inches of leftover string so that when my knot's untied at the top and everything, I can just tie it around my wrist. And I know it's kind of hard to tie it around your own wrist, but this is kind of how I do it. She give me what I want. Kind of just use my hand like this. You can also use like your teeth or whatever and just tie a knot like that. And then just cut off any extra string. Make sure you tie it really tight. I'm not gonna tie it super tight because I'm taking this off after, but just pull really, really hard, and then just cut off your extra string. And then if you do the loop in the beginning, you're gonna wanna have a button on it. You can still add the button if you have this like loop in the beginning with just all your strings hanging out if you really want. I wouldn't, because it's kind of fragile and not very sturdy, but it's up to you if you want to do that. But to add the button to your bracelet, I'm going to just demonstrate on these strings here. Pretend that I did an actual bracelet on this. I'm just going to take my button. I have this one with 4 holes in it. You might have one with 2 holes, so I'll show you both. Usually for these ones with 4 holes in them, I will take my outer 2 strings. You can do just 1 or you can do 2, it's up to you. And I usually cut them so that they're the exact same length. And I get them wet with saliva and then just twist them so they don't fray. And then I put the strings through one of the holes, and then I go to the adjacent hole and put it through the other one. So now your button started on. All right, I'm gonna just do 1 string for this other side, and I still get it wet with saliva, and then just twist it so it doesn't fray, and just put it through one of the holes, and then the adjacent hole, like that. And then I just pull it up with my strings like that. Then to kind of finish it off, I will take all my strings, cut them in half so I have 3 on this side, 3 on this side, and then I will just take all of them and do a couple forward knots, pull really, really tight, maybe a backward knot, pull really, really tight, maybe do another one. However many knots you want to do just to get it nice and tight on there, and that's your button. And then you can just, you have your button, you have your loop, you can just wrap it around your wrist, and then put the loop through the button, and there's your bracelet. I forgot to mention, but if you wanted to add a button to your bracelet, you are most likely going to need to make your bracelet the exact length of your wrist, or it will not fit. Some bracelets will stretch, but a lot of the alpha patterns, like the name bracelets, will not stretch, and you will need to make it the exact length of your wrist, if not longer, so the button has room and it can actually fit around your wrist. Now if you have a 2-hole button, it's a bit more difficult, but you can still do it. For these ones, I would only use 1 string on the outside, because you only have 2 holes. Get it wet with saliva, put it through one of the holes, and then I put it through the other hole. And then I take my other string, I put this string in the hole where this tail's coming out, like that. And just thread that through. And I kind of have to hold the string and like pull it down so that there's room for this one to go through. And then I just pull it up and then just do your knots and your buttons threaded on. And yeah, there you have it, ways to start and end your bracelets, and then also the different kinds of knots and bracelet mechanics. Alright guys, that was the video. I hope this helped and maybe clarified some things for you, and hopefully it's easier to make your bracelets now. If you have any more questions, let me know in the comments. I love you all. Goodbye.